Dancers have a lot to balance. From their pirouettes to their jumps, a dancer's performance is a direct result of hard work and motivation. So where does food fit into this? There's a lot of myths and a ton of antiquated ideals about what a dancer's diet should look like. I'm Rachel Fine, registered dietitian nutritionist and founder of To The Point Nutrition, and I'm here to dispel those.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Rachel.
Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to connect, Ashley. I would love for you to introduce yourself. I know plenty about you already, but I really would love for you to just take some time to introduce yourself to all the dancers who are watching.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Simpson. I'm currently a dancer with BalletX in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I graduated from Bailey Fordham DFA program, and before that, before BalletX, I was with Collage Dance Collective in Memphis, and now I just do contemporary ballet among many other styles here. And we perform locally in Philly. We tour nationally and internationally. Yeah, so I have a background in many styles from being in competition school, competition studio back in Florida where I grew up. And then at Ailey, I learned all of the moderns, so Horton, Graham, became well versed in those. And now I focus on contemporary ballet. We do fusion of ballet and hip hop, and we do a lot of just contemporary styles, modern, more Graham styles. And yeah, nothing is out of the range. So now we do a bunch of everything. So I'm able to use all of my training here.
I love that. So much versatility. That's really fun, right?
It is really fun. Yeah, it's really exciting. Keeps you on your toes, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley, how has your relationship with dance shifted? I feel like you've made some I guess, training shifts, right? From starting in a competition environment to the ALE program to where you're at now. Would you say that your relationship with dance has shifted also with all of these shifts?
Yeah, definitely. I think my relationship with dance, it started off as something more social and environment based. And I was able to, as a young dancer and find friends and find community and just have something in common with a lot of my peers at the time. And I found that it was something that came naturally to me, just moving and being in touch with my body and in command of my body. And so from then I arts middle school and then art school, and there I started to find the more competitive aspect of it. But I still, saw dance as this place where I could have fun and enjoy, and it was something that I really looked forward to after doing academic classes. And so then it was still like something that I loved, something I was so compassionate about. And it wasn't until going to high school at the arts and starting to do a lot of ballet intensives every summer was when it shifted to, I started taking it seriously. I started realizing that I had to take myself more seriously and understanding like the ownership that I had over my own future and the ownership I had of my body and what I wanted to do with this talent that I now cultivated. And so from there, it started, my relationship is always an up and down. It's all about love, but I think now I'm a professional dancer. I've come to a place of, it's sort of now dance is a meditation. It's something that I can't see myself not doing. It's sort of like I used to dance and just do it for what now dance is who I am, which sounds so intense and serious, but I really molded my path. I was able to connect with teachers and fellow dancers.
First of all, I think it is very common for a lot of dancers to start dancing for the socialization, whether their parents put it in or they find it on their own. As the shift that goes on, right, from being a student to really getting bit by the bug or becoming more professional can really it can foster a growing passion for dancers, but it can also lead a lot of dancers to struggling with fixation. And it's hard to really avoid that, right? Because as dancers, like we do have to put so much effort into both what we're doing in the studio, but also even like our cross training. And it goes without saying how much of our drive and motivation has to be put towards this art and this craft. But it can cause a lot of dancers to hyperfixate. And it sounds like you've so beautifully been able to continue with your drive, continue with your passion, but also experience a lot of joy as you continue through your professional years. So I would love to hear a little bit about what are some of the things you do focus on from that standpoint to avoid maybe hyperfixating on the work you're doing as a dancer.
Yeah, that's so important. I think that for me, having hobbies outside of work and outside of dance is so important. Getting your endorphins and just being able to look out and get your happiness from anything else is so important because dance is it's so fluctuating. And when you do have a day where something doesn't go right, we had a teacher actually in ballet class this morning who said, you're not going to be a turner every day. Like your body is going to show up differently every day.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, that is so true because sometimes you just can't get on your leg. And it's the fact of the matter of maybe it's raining outside and that's affecting your orientation. So, like it could be something that's so beyond yourself. And it's so important not to beat yourself up about things like that. So for me, I love reading, I love writing. I've been really interested in learning languages recently. That's been something that's making me so fulfilled outside of work. Um, and I like to play with fashion and style clothes and things like that. So, I mean, still sort of connected to the arts, but I feel like they bring something different to my practice because when we do repertory or we're working on a piece that might require a more emotional connection to it or something that's more grounded in real life things, since we're contemporary ballet, we'll do, real life type of pieces that tell real stories, quotes. But
Yeah.
so I feel like, my love for reading and love for writing and other arts can just I can bring that in and find a way to connect to something, even if I don't have the personal experience with what we're talking about. So I think that's really important for all dancers to be able to find like passion outside of the studio and bring it into the studio as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. That's such a great point, and it's something that comes up a lot in these conversations. Just understanding and recognizing how much we show up in the studio. It's not only a reflection of all that hard training that we're doing, and it's also about coming as the human we are, right? And having those very human experiences, which again can be very challenging, especially for like my pre-professional dancers that are really just like so in it and so focused on, getting that contract, getting that summer intensive. It's much harder in their shoes, I would say, to not hyperfixate, but always in these conversations when I hear from the pros like yourself at just how much having other areas of your life helps to really bring so much depth into your dancing, especially for contemporary like styles. I love to hear that depiction there. So interesting.
Yeah. And to your point, now that I'm here, or specifically here, something that I didn't realize from a pre-professional viewpoint is these directors, when you go to auditions, they want to see yourself, like who you are as a human, not just how you dance. Because often you have to go, once you do your class and you see everything and they see how you dance, they pull you upstairs for an interview. And so if you're not able to, have a real conversation or like just speak about things that you enjoy or who you are as a person, that does make a difference in the hiring process, especially today when there's so many beautifully talented dancers and there's only one spot. Sometimes it is about what you can bring to the environment of humans who all work together.
Yeah, what you bring to the company culture too. I think that plays a huge role. I'm happy you brought that up. I would love to hear, was there a point, whether it was in your training, in your professional days, where you started to make a connection between food and your dancing?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was my sophomore year in college at Ely Fordham. For some reason, so I like to say I'm vegetarian, but mostly vegan.
Okay.
So back then, I was just living off of croissants, and I would have an apple here or a bagel there.
Yeah.
I did not like it was accidental when I would have tofu or beans or protein in my meals.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I was doing it. It was the busiest time of my life. I would have ballet in the morning at Ailey, and then run to Fordham for 2 academics, then back to Ailey for a few more things. Or on other days, I was a trainee at Complexions at that time, so I would have company class with that company, which is already an intense class, and then have to go back to Ailey Fordham and do the back and forth, back and forth. And I would just be living off of like a bagel here or a Belvita snack there. And like I started to get really tired, really burnt out. And it wasn't until around then when I realized, my food can actually help me get through my busiest days. And I started really trying to incorporate, like I would have oatmeal for breakfast and peanut butter here and there, just trying to add more protein when I could. And it made a world of difference.
Yeah. I love that. It's, oh my gosh, so common for us to get to our college years when most often now we're more on our own and really have to start making decisions independently, right? And knowing how, and it kind of is like the second semester, I find, because I do work with a lot of college age dancers, I do find that second semester is often where it hits. And it's like, oh, adding peanut butter to my oatmeal cup is actually going to make me dance better at 12 p.m. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Actually, I was working with the dancers at Juilliard for quite some time, and they have an oatmeal bar there for the students. It's
nice.
It's a really nice perk. But I can't tell you how many, I would say like mid-semester, it was always like, okay, well, what else can we add to this, right? We have to add. Oatmeal is great. It's a great energizing carbohydrate, but I love hearing that connection that you made, because a lot of dancers, they don't realize that. They don't realize how much more needs to be compacted into their meals and snacks just to get not only to meet those nutritional needs, but to like really experience the benefits when you're in class, right? I always say to really feel the energy and feel the strength gains that you can experience. So I love hearing that connection. It's very common for that connection to happen in college. I experienced that with a lot of dancers that I work with. Ashley, I would love to hear any pre-performance rituals that you have now.
So I'm not as ritualistic as some of my other peers, but one thing that I do need every performance is a really good playlist. I need to be listening to music and in both headphones, over the ear headphones, just really hype, exciting music, because no matter what I'm about to do on stage, I need that excitement, because I'm so nervous usually before a show. Yeah. And I need something to distract myself. And for me, it's just listening to something that's completely different than whatever I'm about to do. So if we're going to we've been doing a lot of Justin Peck recently, and that's a sneaker ballet. So before that, sometimes I listen to something softer, even like some sort of mountain music, something like just to get me out of my thoughts. Or if we're doing something soft on stage or something very classical, with strings, normally strings or piano, then I'll be listening to a lot of hip hop or jazz, K-pop, anything really. So that's my only ritual.
Yeah.
Like pre-show.
Yeah. I love that. It's always very individual, right? But I could definitely relate to those pre-performance nerves, and just having something to kind of get you out of you have to be very much in the moment, but a little something that can kind of get you out and really calmer before you get on stage is really helpful. Ashley, the final question I'd love to ask you, it's a big one, and you've shared such beautiful insight already, but how would you redefine what it means to be the healthy dancer?
That's good. Good question. I would say that, just about balance. I think, like you were saying before, having people you can talk to at work is so important, and also having things that you do outside of work, things that you enjoy, things that get your mind off of your day to day, and then also being physical outside of work, having a cross training method, because it's so important to be able to be ready for whatever's next. Here at BalletX, at least, we have so many different choreographers, and we have to be ready for the next thing and the next thing. And sometimes we're not, we don't have muscles that are like currently ready and activated for, parallel movement. And so that's something that we just have to be ready for. So cross training is so important, which I've learned later on. Um, yeah, being so, I don't want to say well rounded, but really balanced, like you said, is the right word. Like having endorphin related activities outside of work, eating properly, and enjoying your life. It sounds so weird, but like the more years that I have under my belt, the more I realize how important it is to like show up as if every day is your last. It sounds so dark, but like showing up as if, oh, what if there's this trend that's on Instagram right now where it's like it's like
you're talking
like
about.
you're normally 90, but today you showed up in your 25-year-old body. That changed my life. Yeah. I was like, yeah, because every moment would be such a joy, and being able to turn it into something positive is such a superpower. Yeah. And having that mentality and being able to find joy whenever you can, because obviously it's going to fluctuate, but being able to tap into whatever makes you happy day to day is so important. And that's what I think a healthy dancer is.
I love that. I love that. I mean, the word joy in general, like what we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, it can, for more of our pre-professional dancers, but it can happen during the professional years too. Sometimes joy can be lost, and it really is so sad because for most of the dancers I've spoken to and I've worked with over the years, at some point you enter this field because you love it. And that is often such a great reflection to say, am I still enjoying what I'm doing? And if not, what might be missing? Often it's that balance, right? Often it's the hyperfixation. For a lot of the dancers that I work with, it's disordered eating. It could be a diagnosed eating disorder. There's a lot of obstacles that, by the way, we can navigate and we can heal from to regain that joy. It doesn't mean that we have to take ourselves out of dance too. So it was so beautiful to hear you say that and just to remind us all about that. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me today. You've shared beautiful insight. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your questions and for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Well, we'll stay connected, okay? I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.